What's good, everybody? It's your boy Avery Wilson, and you're watching You Know I Got Soul.
All right, YouKnowIGotSoul.com here with Avery Wilson. You know, you've been developing this reputation as one of the best young voices coming up in R&B right now. You know, really impressive. Just want to talk about who were the artists that influenced you. You know, what influences on your voice coming up?
Man, when it comes to vocals, I mean, really the biggest voices of all time. You know, there's Whitney Houston, there's Celine Dion, there's Usher. You know, there's the Beyoncés. Really, just the big, Tank, like the big voices, like all the real voices that people really cling to, and I think that's what like got me so just interested in vocals, period. And like I think that's why I sing the way I sing, is because when you study, I feel like you're a product of what you study. So I mean, as a little kid, 6, 7 years old, I was always, in the mirror listening to these songs and like trying to mimic what they do, like every run, every lick, every note. So I think that's where it all came from.
And of course, you got to put those talents on display on The Voice from a young age. And
yeah, man.
How do you feel like that, I guess, helped you, but also talk about if you feel like it put some unfair expectations on you because you had such a great start from a young age?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that whole process of The Voice at a young age was super, I don't know, it was super exciting. I mean, it was eventful. It was a lot of things that I learned about myself at a young age, that I had to know in order to be ready to do the things I'm doing now, like to be prepared and to stay prepared and, not having to get ready, but always staying ready. And, I mean, I can't really say that it's done anything wrong or, put any kind of bad light on me. I mean, it's taught me very much a lot about myself, and it's opened up a lot of, gateways for me to do a lot of other things. So I'm so appreciative of, that experience.
When you didn't come out on top in the show, did you take that as a setback or a learning opportunity?
As a young kid, that'd be my first opportunity on TV. Honestly, I did feel like, I kind of let my family and me down, but that wasn't the case. As I grew up and I matured and I learned, I knew that was just the opening, of a new door, a new chapter, and that was a stepping stone. And after I had even got off the show, and Sean Garrett, my big bro, my mentor, came straight to my house and we talked, and he got really interested and we developed right after that. So that was really just a segue for me. I mean, at the time I looked at it as like a halt, but it really was something that really helped me, to be honest.
And obviously it didn't hurt you at all because here you are, doing even bigger things now, which is awesome. So,
yeah,
talk about Sean Garrett a little bit. How did he come into play?
Well, before I even did the show, I had auditioned for him, and he was really interested. But me being, the forward, person, like always wanting to do something, even as a young kid, I'm like, my attitude was like, I got to get it done, whether it's by myself or, with a team, I'm going to make it happen. And I was like, let me try The Voice. So I went and tried that, and then that, happened the way it did, and it unfolded the way it did. And he came to my house right after. So we've always been in connections, and he's always given me advice from day one to help me get better, to make me move forward, and just to always better myself as an artist and as a, a personal human being. So, I mean, we've always had, honestly, like this connection since the first day I that just caught me.
No.
Since the first day I met him and the first time that, we shared our moments in connection, so it was cool.
Talk about becoming this Vine celeb. I mean, you've grown a massive following on Vine,
yes,
doing some big things on there. At what point did you know, like, wow, this is something special I've developed here?
To be honest, I never really even paid any attention until I got into 600,000 followers. I didn't know I was just making videos, because honestly, at first I tried to be a comedian because I'm like, funny off, the singing thing. But I just was like, well, I'm going to just start doing it because somebody was like, you should sing. I mean, we know you sing, so let's do it. So I started making videos, and I was just doing, regular covers of what people wanted to hear and request, and I didn't really pay any attention. And then I started to see this started growing, and I, was at my house at the time, and I went down with my parents. I went downstairs, and I was like, do you see this growth? And they were like, okay, because it's like, it's my age group of what that is, like social media, so that's a pretty new thing. And it was like, hundreds of thousands of views and likes and reshares and comments by the second. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm getting onto something. So then I started to take it a little more serious and go into depth and really start to figure out what songs that are popular that will get more likes. And I just started to dig into it deeper, and it became something bigger than what I thought it was. So it was really like a, unexpected test trial thing. And then I just kind of went with it.
Let's talk about how you signed with RCA. So
Yep.
the Voice had ended. Sean Garrett had reached out. You linked up with him. What made it, turn into a deal with RCA?
Well, what connects me with RCA is that when I signed with Sean, we developed for a year and a half probably, and then we went and saw Clive Davis, and I auditioned for him, and I didn't even know what was going on because I'm like, whoa, I'm upstairs in the Sony building at Clive Davis office, like this is crazy, and I auditioned for him, and it was kind of like he was interested, so we stayed there, we talked, we had our conversations, got to the business, got down to that, and it was like either out of all the labels at Sony Music. Well, RCA, Epic, all these different things. And I was like, wow, well, I really like RCA because I just liked, how they got down. I like their artists. I like, their intentions behind what they did, their process and all that. And I really just signed with them because they get into the artists. And I'm so glad to be with RCA. I mean, they treat me so well.
And you mentioned Clive Davis. I think it's awesome that he's really embraced you. He's been following you, do appearances, coming on radio programs with you for interviews. So what is the biggest thing you've learned from him so far?
Man, the biggest thing I've learned from him is that it's like no matter what your age is, it's never too late to stay in the game. I mean, I think that's one thing that people try to do. They try to count him out from his age, but he's the sharpest tool in the shed that I have, I believe, and he's so smart here, like in the mind, and it's like age has nothing to do with that. He shows up to work every day. He's in, all these meetings. He was doing the promo runs with me, like 6 o'clock in the morning, getting up. I'm like, what 70, 80-year-old person do you know doing that? Nobody. So that gives me so much inspiration, the fact that he's still doing that today, and he's been doing it for so long, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Tell us about how your debut album's coming along. You've released a couple singles so far.
Yeah.
How's it going?
My debut album is coming along great. I'm really excited about it. I mean, with the singles, if I have to and change my mind, I mean, I can't even explain it. I'm really just super excited that I get to really just connect with who I am. I mean, I'm not just a balladeer. I'm not just somebody who sits behind a piano. I'm definitely a part of this culture. I'm definitely a part of what's going on right now in this moment. So the fact that I can introduce that, all different levels of who I am and different sides and shades of what an artist is, who I am, to the people, I mean, I'm super excited about that because I think people need that. They need to understand, like, about me, I'm not just one way. People hear it and they're like, oh, you have this great voice, which I'm so grateful for. But it's so many things you can do, and there's so many things that interest me and that I find interest in. So I'm just glad that I can show that, with my first couple singles that are leading up to my album.
In addition to Sean Garrett, have you had a chance to work with any other producers and writers? Or?
Yeah, one thing I will say is with this process, a lot of people try to typecast and, put people in a small box perspective of, what a certain situation or person is about. But Sean, honestly, he is the most open, genuine producer that I've met that is accomplished so much and still ready to get in the street, and still ready to get in the mud and work and get hard. So, I mean, to go hard in this game. So for me, working with him, it's never an option of like not working with somebody. So we work with so many people, Harmony Samuels, James Fauntleroy. We've worked with so many different, different artists, I call them, but they're producers, but artists that get into, their own world. So it's not a, because he's Sean Garrett, we're not working with anybody else. So that's what I'm excited about too. He's so open to work with anybody and to just use their gifts as well as ours and, collaborate, so.
I was so happy on your first single. You really showed us your vocal abilities, which is something you've been known for. It seems like in R&B these days with the younger generation, we don't get to hear the vocal abilities so much on the radio as we're used to in the past, like 90s. So do you feel like that's going to be a challenge for you as you progress, with vocals not being the emphasis?
To be honest, I don't think that'll be a challenge in the future, because I feel like personally, with where music is going, like, a lot of rappers are using a lot of melodies too. So the melody and the music and the singing part of the song and just that whole coloring part of records nowadays they're not gone. I feel like it's coming back more. So for me to come out and sing again and do and if I have to, or do a song, an up tempo where I'm singing on it crazy, is not something that's far fetched. I mean, I listen to so many artists like Future, Rich Homie Quan, and just to name a few, Drake, they all rap, but they all have melody. So we're not losing that side of, music. I mean, it's not technically R&B, but it gives us room to still come in and do what we do. So I'm glad about that.
Awesome. And then just final question. I was reading about your dad and how he helped you get your start, doing some open mics at McDonald's restaurants. Just take us back to that whole situation.
Man, when I was too young to get into clubs and too young to do nightlife gigs, my dad, he's a partner of McDonald's, which is crazy for a lot of people to see and know. But Yeah, he started me out singing in McDonald's in one of his restaurants. I got the opportunity to do this thing called open mic, which is every Wednesday, which still goes on now, which is like something that surprises me because it gives kids that opportunity that I had that I couldn't have to go and perform places that could give you exposure without being in the nightlife arena, which is it's hard for young kids because a lot of adults, if they're listening to kids, their attitudes are probably like, I don't want to hear this. It's a really friendly, vibe, and I think that's really cool though that I got to grow up in singing in McDonald's. Who can say that? Nobody. So it's definitely a process, and it's definitely my journey is definitely wild.
So, that's all we have for you. Anything you'd like to add?
Absolutely. If you are watching this right now, make sure you go get my single. If Change My Mind, my bad. If you're watching this right now, please make sure you get my single, Change My Mind, featuring Amigos. You got to turn up with me. It's on iTunes right now, Google Play, Spotify. You can follow me everywhere, Avery Wilson. That's YouTube, Vine, Twitter, Facebook, and all of the above.